Hey, this is Mark Gray with Collette King Team. I'm here with the amazing Collette King.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
I know, right? Here we go.
Yeah.
Podcast time.
Podcast time.
Time for everybody to learn about buying a home, selling a home. We're going to try to touch on all those things. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited.
A lot to share. We have a lot to share.
There is. You know, the first thing I'd like to start with is common mistakes first-time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. And even home buyers that have been buying for a long time that haven't actually gone back and heard the basics. Sometimes they forget the basics.
They do.
That's right. So we're gonna start with that. So let's just hit some of those common spots of first-time buyers wouldn't make.
Sure. So every first-time home buyer has an uncle, their mom, their dad, their best friend that is full of advice, but it's not always the right advice.
That's right.
So I think the first thing that buyers fail to do is get pre-approved. They have no idea what their credit score is. They've been self-employed for 6 months and think they can go and buy a home, and that's just they fail to get pre-approved.
So they're cruising around on a Sunday and they're looking at new homes and they walk and go, "Hey, how much is this house?" And
open houses,
right.
They fall in love and they don't know where to start. So getting pre-approved is oftentimes your best bet.
That's going to take out a lot of the work part of that. If you get it done ahead of time,
yes,
you know what you've done, and that's the perfect customer.
You know what you're looking at. You know you're not going to have sticker shock. You're not going to have payment shock. You walk in, you know exactly the price point you're looking at. You know what to expect on payment.
Yeah, it also lets you know, as the realtor, that they're ready to go. Yeah, they're serious.
They're not wasting their time.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's
and you're not wasting a seller's time. You're not making a seller leave to show a home just to find out that you can't buy it. So getting pre-approved answers so many questions. You find out your payment fluctuates when the lower the taxes, the higher the taxes. So, and first-time homebuyers are a big myth. A big myth is they think you have to put 20% down. You do not have to put 20% down. You can put as little as 3.5% down. And in some cases, if you're a first-time homebuyer, there's first-time homebuyer grants. So you're coming to the table with no down payment.
Now that's awesome to know, because a lot of people always just assume that it is 20%.
Absolutely. Big myth. So, but getting pre-approved answers so many of those questions.
Yeah, it does.
And I think a lot of people continue to rent because they don't know how to buy. They don't know where to start the process. So finding a realtor that you work well with is just something I think every buyer needs to hop out there and do. Find someone that you relate to. Find someone that listens to you.
You know, I've seen a lot is there's renters that have been renters for so long, and it's easy to do because I would get in all the stuff and I think, well, I've got this little thing on my credit. That could be a bad thing, and I don't want to get into that. If you just go through the process ahead of time, you're going to find out you could have not been wasting money throwing it into somebody else's rental.
Good point. Very good point. Because a lot of times the lender will tell you exactly what you need to do to get that little blip off of your credit. Or they may tell you it's not a big deal.
But you know how I get to procrastinate? I'm going to do it. I'm going to eventually get to it. And they never do. It's just easier to rent.
Complacency, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we're all guilty of it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I guess moving forward with those common mistakes that they make, your first point was great. Let's move on to once they get into finding the right lender. And
So once you find a realtor that you work well with, then most of the time a realtor works well with their lender.
Gotcha.
So if you like the realtor you're working with, chances are you're going to like that lender they refer you to. So you're going to work with a lender one-on-one, and you're going to get pre-approved. You're going to find out exactly what your buying power is. You're going to find out what's required of you, what the documents are needed, and how much to expect to bring to closing. I think that's another buyer issue, is that buyers think that I have my 3.5% saved, or my 5%, or my 20% saved. You have closing cost on top of that. You have cost for appraisals and inspections. You may have cost for surveys. So there's other costs that go along besides just your down payment.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Somebody like yourself, as knowledgeable as you are, no different than this podcast that we're doing right now, you are passing this information on, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
Well, after 25, 26 years experience, I should write a book.
That's exactly right. Everybody says they should. We're going to start tomorrow. Talk about procrastination.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to start on that tomorrow.
Every one of my chapters will be named after my clients.
There you go.
So getting pre-approved, ripping that Band-Aid off. And I think buyers, when they're renting, complacency sets in and they don't know how to stop renting and start buying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And once you talk to a lender, you find out what's needed and you stop that rental process. You stop that cycle of paying someone else's mortgage month after month after month.
That's right.
You're starting to invest in yourself. You're building equity. And when you go to sell it, you've put that money into your own piggy bank.
And here's another big reason why. Because you've been in this house for so many years and you're paying rent and you decide, you know what? I sure would like to add on to this house. Or I sure would like to do this. You're not going to fix up somebody else's house, which I've been guilty of.
How many times have you looked at someone else's home and said, man, that'd be great if I could rip down that wall.
That's right.
Open up that kitchen. It's not yours. Don't improve someone else's property.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, stopping that cycle of renting and starting to buy is very, very simple. Just by talking to a lender. That's where it all starts. Talk to a realtor and talk to a lender, but find someone you're comfortable with. People, I think, buyers are worried about that. What's the lender going to tell me? Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear the bad news. And it's not. Most of the time, it's great news.
Yes.
And most of the time, you're approved for more than you thought. And people are happy. They're happy that, well, I've been paying $2,000 a month in rent and I qualify for $2,500. So yeah, they go out there and they find a home, and it's usually, as a realtor, it's usually me crying at a first-time home buyer's closing, because it's huge.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a huge monumental moment.
Yeah, it is. And I know that first-time home buyers have all these questions, and I think it's great. I think one of the big things, and especially getting to know you in this podcast for people going forward, it's relationships. I like to call this relationships in real estate is really the way to go, because that's what it is. And you've got so many customers through the years that are still there, referrals, keep coming back, and you're just the very best when it comes to relationships. I know this because of the line for pies that we've got out. Collette does a pie thing where she has pies at Thanksgiving, and people line up and they come through and they get their pie. Some want to talk, some don't want to talk. She stands out there and just waves, hands out pies. But this has gotten to be a big deal.
It has. We love that. So it kind of started after we had pie parties prior to COVID. And then during COVID, we did pie drive-thrus. And now they're lined up down the road, and my whole team is shouting, get them through. So they do U-turns. They're out. Some of them, you're right.
We're in the pie business.
That's right. In
November. That's awesome. No, that's a great thing. Yeah. That's something that I think all real estate agents, they're always looking for something new and innovative to do. And we'll get into that later because, you've come up with a great thing going forward. And we're going to discuss that later on the podcast. But let's get back to first-time home buyers, another myth or...
So getting pre-approved, that's where it starts. And sometimes you find a lender that you work well with, and that lender is going to refer you to their realtor that they work with. So it's a two-way street. And working on the financial part first gives you that, it just makes you feel more powerful when you're out there looking at homes.
Yep.
Walking into that house, I can afford this. If I like this, I can pull the trigger on it and start this today. And I can be in this home in 30 days. So that's another myth.
Right.
People think it's 45 days, 60 days to close. No, you can close. I call her my 3-week closer, but our lender can close in as little as 3 weeks. And typically it's 30 days. And
everybody always wants to push that.
Yes. Yeah. So my lender, we've actually closed them in 9 days. But we're all jumping through hoops.
That's exactly.
In the down payment, it's not just the down payment to get into a house. You have closing costs on top of it. And then you have, like I said, your inspection fees that are paid up front, option fees, appraisal fees. So you have additional cost but we as realtors go over that. We explain, we sit down, we tell you what to expect. There's nothing that's surprising.
Right. So once you've gone through that part and you have the money, what you can spend and all that stuff, then I guess it's zeroing in the area that you want to be in.
Yes.
You could be moving in from out of town, out of state, coming in, finding out as much as you can. I think that's another thing of being, knowing your area like you do. I think that's very important.
So, of course, schools, that's all very important. And here in Houston, we have to deal with flooding. So you're going to ask, when you're new to the area, you're going to ask that realtor. You're going to ask them about schools. You're going to ask them about shopping. You're going to ask them about doctors. What's the best freeway? If this road's flooded, what's another access point?
Now, with Houston, we live on the Gulf Coast. Let's be honest. Yeah. It can rain. It can be hot. It can be freezing. Yeah. Multiple days. It can all happen at once. Yes. And so learning that and understanding that. But zeroing in, I think, for families, the right schools. Location's huge. And where you're going to, and it's not just immediate. So we try to tell buyers, don't look at what right now. Don't look at the next 12 to 24 months. That's important.
Yeah. Let's look into the 5-year. What's your 5-year plan? What's your 7-year plan? What's your 10-year plan?
Yeah. As a buyer for me, I'm thinking, I hope I get into a good area that the house is going to go up in value. Absolutely. And that's things that's right. And that's things that they can find out from you just from not going into just, hey, my cousin's a real estate agent and that's great. No, you have to find a knowledgeable.
And empty nesters. Yeah. Empty nesters, they're not bringing kids in, right? They're not having children. But young couple, newly married, that's looking at a 3-bedroom, 1,400, 1,500 square feet, but they're talking about having 2 or 3 kids. This is not going to be their home in 10 years.
Yeah.
So
it's important to know all those things.
Absolutely. And have that conversation with your buyers. Have that, because it's not about the now. We're also looking at the future.
That's right.
And
that's right.
If you're looking to grow your family, then, let's use our purchasing power now before prices go up.
So many things go into that, finding that right home.
Yes.
Do you have a big family, extended family? Do they like to come in? Do they like to hang out? Yes. Are you going to have Christmas with them there? The big kitchen, the big outdoor area that's got some space for having barbecues. These are all things that are needed to know.
And we have buyers who have family overseas. When they come to visit, they'll stay at 30 days or 60 days.
That's another good point. So do you have an extra room?
Yes, that's comfortable.
Maybe you're looking at a 3-bedroom. You may need a 4th.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And the bathrooms. Is there a private bath? Or are they sharing with your little Susie? Exactly right. And they may not want to share with little 3-year-old Susie. So it's, so it's long-term planning as well. So
absolutely.
And we try to rein them in, because sometimes buyers walk into a home and they love the way it's decorated and they just fall in love. Mm-hmm. So then we try to strip their mind of, all right, let's take out the furniture, let's take out the pretty decorations, and let's look at the actual floor plan. Is that still?
It's either staged really attractive to them. It's like walking into a place where there's new homes and you go in there and you really don't have a real estate agent. We're just going to look at the new homes over in this area. We're just going to talk to the person selling the home right there, which doesn't have a lot of the personal information that you might gather from having a real client.
So new construction is so much fun, because the model homes are built with every possible bell and whistle you could find. And then all of a sudden the buyer goes in to negotiate that and finds out, so my $350,000 home that I thought I was looking at is actually $450,000. So
or $700,000, the way these guys put all these bells and whistles.
That's right.
Yeah. Always ask, well, how much would this one actually be right here? And you're going to hear the lady go, well, I'm going to have to cut back to you on that one.
Yes.
Because we're going to have to go through a tally of a million things. And this house is actually worth $700,000.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. A little $300,000 out of my price range.
That's right.
So yeah, that's a big, now that you brought up new construction, most buyers don't think that they need a realtor for new construction. So it's not required to have a realtor, but why wouldn't you?
That's right.
Yeah. You want someone that represents.
You just heard all those things, ladies and gentlemen, of what you can get into, the pitfalls, all these things.
Inspections, negotiations. And can you negotiate the price on new construction? They may tell you no. Most often you can. So.
But the person there selling that home for the builder is just there to sell these homes and manage people coming in. But she is not tied in the way you're tied in.
And the builder is the one that signs their paychecks. So they are protecting the interest of the builder. Yeah. So we are absolutely adamant that buyers need representation on new construction. I just don't know why you wouldn't.
Absolutely. So. If you're available, I would definitely grab you. You have saved my rear end many times in home deals, and I can't thank you enough for that. So going forward, moving on from there, when finding that right home, let's talk about some of the stuff that goes into that.
Sure. So getting the offer accepted that's to be celebrated in and of itself.
That's right.
But once that's done, that's where the hard work kicks in. So
negotiating those ebbs and flows, because, someone's going to come in with an offer, or their asking price. And you, based upon that asking price, probably have an idea of what they're willing to do because you've been in this business a long time.
So we look at solds, we look at comps in the area, what things are selling for, kind of what the trend is, what the trend has been. So the last thing you want is an appraisal issue. So on a resale, we look at numbers. We look at what's selling. Mm-hmm. We look at the home itself. If this is the home you picked out, let us research it a bit. Let us make sure that there's no issues with it, it hasn't, we look at seller's disclosure. We look at location. We look at previous claim history through insurance. We look at all of that. We look at flood maps, and we share all of that with the buyer, because once you're armed with the proper information, then you can make an educated decision, and it's not an emotional decision.
So you can imagine Mrs. Smith that lives out in Ohio, they're getting transferred to Texas, moving into the Cypress area, and she loves this home. Yep. She is sold on it, tells her husband about it. They get a hold of Collette. Collette comes in with, all right, well, let me lay some facts on you that you do need to know. It may not be what you want to hear, but that's part of being a real estate agent. A good one is letting you know this could happen, this could happen. I love that you love that home, but I also find you a few more like this home. So let's look at it and others.
We take the emotion out of it. So we take the emotion out of it. We lay the facts down. And if they make that decision at that point, we have done everything we can. We have provided all the information. We've provided all the facts. Mm-hmm. And if you're still interested, then great, let's make an offer.
Because if you do buy that home, right, and then you decide, you know what, I want to add on to the back of the home. Mm-hmm. I want to put in a pool. So all those factors have to go into this. And then you got to see if you're still in the market for that price. Are you at the highest end of the neighborhood now? That could be a trouble if you want to sell it.
Yes. Or you have 3 teenage boys and you have a 2-car driveway. So you have 5 carts. Well, then you may not want to be parking on the street every day.
Yep.
So it's
some neighborhoods now are not allowing that. You go over to Town Lake.
Yep.
Town Lake. You park your car out front. You're going to get a sticker on it that does not come off easy.
Yep.
But we're hunting a razor blade.
Yes.
Or driving around with a big orange sticker on your car. But they do it. They really do it. They do. And it keeps the clutter of the neighborhood. It keeps it so nice. I used to have a problem with it, but I understand why.
Yes.
I do understand why they do it.
I know. So I hear you on that. I love that they do it. It keeps it uniformed. It keeps it clean. But unless it's you that needs that overnight parking, then you look at it differently.
That's exactly right.
So that's what we do. Because the buyers get emotional. It's an emotional process, and
very much.
So we want to hone in on, these are your needs. So a week, 2 weeks, 6 months ago, when you gave me your list of wants and must-haves, this has all your wants, but it has none of your must-haves. So let's readdress the list. Are these still must-haves? Are these still your must-haves? Are these still your, or has that changed? Maybe little Susie went off to college and little Susie doesn't need a bedroom anymore. Yeah.
Do you see your family growing, or is this a forever home for you? We need to know, is this a forever home? You don't ever want to move again. It's very good to know that.
So, Mark, that's funny, because some of my favorite forever homes, I'm like, this is your never forever home. Like, there's always something that draws your attention, draws your eye, and you're like, we're ready for lake living, or we're ready for over 55 living. So when people say this is my forever home, I kind of secretly chuckle.
Well, here's the thing. If you're in your 30s and you think it's your forever home, trust me, when you get in your 40s and 50s, things change.
You change. Your own taste changes. So, yeah.
I like to say I'm drawn to the water.
Yes.
I'm like, I never said I live in Galveston, but I'm like, I do like going down the ocean or a lake somewhere. That's how that comes into play.
That's funny. People, I'll get the calls for the lake house, and they're ready, right? The buyers are ready, they're ready, but they're still commuting to work. So sometimes we'll suggest, go stay in a hotel a couple of nights, commute to work, and let me know what you think of that commute. And they usually sometimes will scratch that lake house until they're retired.
You're just spending all your time in your car.
Yes.
Unless that's your home office.
Seeing the water.
I do it. I get it.
Yeah.
But some people just don't like doing it. A lot of that time spent, it could be time that you were spending at home. So that is definitely a big decision.
Now,
and the Houston traffic.
That's right.
Obviously.
Now, a second home. Let's talk a second home, because a second home may be in your future.
That's right.
But then you don't have to do the commute. So
that's right. Well, plans change, money changes. You could have fallen into a windfall of money you just don't know, and then you can make that decision. But
yeah, it's and that's where I think a good realtor steps in and says, well, it may not be a daily thing for you, but let's talk about a second home. Let's talk about maybe a condo until you can upgrade to a single family residence.
And I do really want to talk about this because I think it's really important, because I think a lot of new home buyers, everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants a deal. And where I'm going with this is that I've got a friend in real estate. They'll do it for 3% for the whole thing. Right. You start talking those percentage of what real estate people make. I know it's a topic that you guys try to just navigate around, but I'm telling you, if you try to save money and go with someone a little less experienced, you're not going to get the full know-how. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen at closing. Papers are not going to be ready. If you deal with inexperience, expect to get inexperience.
So those are some of my favorite.
And your friend ain't going to be your friend anymore.
Amen. Amen. Those are my favorite, when they walk into an open house and say, well, my friend's helping me. I already have a realtor. And my friend is giving me back 2% of her commission. So where's your friend now? Well, she told me to come look at homes on my own.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. So you're out there picking out a home, not knowing the questions to ask. So you're representing yourself. So your friend's getting, no.
This happens so much. I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you. So when it comes time for having a real estate agent that is knowledgeable,
and it's not just the legwork, it's the paperwork and the negotiations. And well, my cousin does it part-time. There is no part-time in real estate.
But just does it.
There isn't. We are 7 days a week. I tell my husband all the time, I work all day, but then I work on my computer work at 10 o'clock at night because my phone's done ringing. Well, yeah. And I'll work until 1 a.m. And then we're back up at 6 doing it all over again.
If you're in real estate, you have to have that phone on, because you're going to miss a call at some point in time. That just will drive you nuts.
So funny story. I came out of a house, showing a house one day, and had my phone in my hand, slipped down the stairs, and I landed, broke a couple of spindles on the stairway. However, my phone never left my hand. So I was okay breaking every bone in both legs, but I was not going to let go of that phone. My phone was not going to be broken. So it is our lifeline.
It is our lifeline.
It is our lifeline.
It is our lifeline. Mine broke down the other day. I was getting messages to this thing. I don't look at this thing.
I know.
My phone just decided to take a break.
Yeah.
I was at AT&T this morning trying to figure that out. Had to call everybody back and went, sorry, I ignored everyone.
Yes.
This is not the way I do. Yeah. I'm not dead.
How many of us have navigation in our car, right? My phone died a couple of months ago, and I had my GPS going, and I panicked. Well, I have my GPS right there. I knew the address I was going to, but my phone was dead. Like, I was waiting for it to come back up.
How did anyone ever find an address before these
key maps? Key maps.
A key map, I'm sure.
Dating ourselves?
Yeah. I don't know how.
Key maps.
I really don't know how anyone did this before.
Remember when we drew the roads, it would stop, and we drew them in because they were building them. We drew them in on the key map.
I was quick to say I'm lost.
Yeah.
Anybody that calls me and tells me they're lost nowadays, I'm like, okay. You are a dinosaur.
1990 called. They're looking for you.
That's exactly right.
Yes. It's, so yeah, myths, buyers, it's, location is key. Location is key. What is location? Mm-hmm. Getting pre-approved, knowing what's expected of you, because there are expectations, not using your friends and your family members. I welcome mom and dad to come and look at properties. I know a lot of realtors cringe. I love mom and dad coming to look at properties with us. Mom and dad make you look at storage that you don't think about.
Right.
So especially on first-time home buyers. So it's, I welcome mom and dad. I welcome the kids. I think it's cute now. Buyers will include their kids on the decisions. I laugh because I'm the oldest of 4, and my parents would have told me, if you're not paying the mortgage, your opinion doesn't matter. So, but I love that they include kids in the decisions. I love that they say, go pick out your bedrooms, and you're the oldest, so go have at it.
And if you're the man in this situation, you might have to, the mother-in-law is going to have to come.
That's right.
That's right. Best just keeping it quiet.
That's right. That's right. So it's, location, pre-approval, all of that. It's those are all important extra costs, not just your down payment. Now we're in a market where we're asking the sellers to pay closing costs when we can get that negotiated. So hopefully that eliminates a lot.
One of the things that I noticed when dealing or selling a home, buying a home, someone's got to cost what they want for that home. You could be looking in HAR and you're looking through and they're saying, oh, this home is 400 and something thousand. When we know that subdivision is not going to appraise at that. So there is that little myth.
So that's where comps come in.
That's right.
Yeah. So we look at numbers and we tell you, look, they're asking a little much. They're asking, their list price is a little high. So if we can't negotiate it down to this bracket, then let's go to plan B. So I've taught my team to, let's try to have a plan A and a plan B for the buyer.
And that's right. And then you go in, you get, the home inspector comes in, all these people come in, we find out all these things about this. And guess what? That buyer can't be asking that much money until this stuff are fixed. So there's negotiating room there. Then the price comes down to reality.
Yeah.
And then that's part of what being a real estate agent is.
So it's a good point with inspections, because not always the buyers aren't as enamored after inspections as they were before inspections.
That's right.
Sometimes that's when the buyer goes back to the drawing board, or they go on to plan B because the house wasn't what they thought it was.
Because the pictures are beautiful.
Inspected.
You get a great photographer out there nowadays, and the pictures are beautiful. It looks like the most amazing thing. You show up and you're like, holy smokes, what happened here?
Exactly.
The bomb went off.
That's exactly right. But on the listing side, we try to go in and get all of that taken care of before we list a home.
On the listing side. And that's a whole other ballgame.
Yep. Because you've been with us on some.
That's right. That's right. It's investing. You've got investors that are buying investment homes because they want to rent. That renter may want to stay in there a long time, and that's good for them if they can up their home rented. But that's a whole nother way to buy and a whole nother way to list these homes. And we're going to be discussing that in the weeks to come. Let's talk about real quick today. We developed the Collette King Rising Stars of Country Music. Yes. We're going to talk about this. Woo. Yes, this is exciting. So Collette has decided, that we're going to do country music. She was a give back. She loves country music. And she's always coming up with ideas for parties, spring flings. What can I do for my customers? So, that's right.
We love mingling. Hence the podcast, right? We love to talk.
That's right.
So every year we try to outdo ourselves. And so, trying to see what we can do this year that we didn't do last year. And
this one is definitely no different.
And it's funny because every party brings out a different portion of our clientele. Mm-hmm. So we have some that show up at our family events, and then some show up at our brewery events that have never been to our family events. So hopefully this one, family friendly.
That's right.
Yeah, music, food, drinks. Right. We're just hoping it brings out everything.
And the idea is to bring out a really amazing artist.
Yes.
And that's what you've done with Peyton Howie.
Yeah, Peyton Howie.
Super exciting over at the Frio, the barn. This is going to be great. So a lot of Collette's clients through the years get to come out and see you, say hello, food, drinks, and all this stuff just for... I think it's amazing that you do this for your clients, for your customers, and it's to get new customers, obviously, as well.
So, Mark, this is our first one that we're doing that's open to the public.
That's right. We're opening it to the public, and I think that's important. You've glad-handed so much with your customers, and now let's bring the clients in. Let's bring new people in to talk to your agents, to talk to you, and I think that's great. Why not do it over some country music, food? Yeah. It's a great idea. Well done.
We're still taking care of our past clients, current clients. I have clients that have been with me for 25, 26 years, and they still come. I have one. She was a single mom when she bought, and now she's a grandmother, and even a great grandmother. And she shows up at all of our events.
That's what I love to say. Relationships in real estate, and you really can make them because you get to know the whole family. They get very invested.
It's relational. This is a relational business, not transactional. So you are not just
well put.
Never, ever just a transaction to us. You will hear from us until you're filing stalking charges against us. We love our people. We love them.
You're a real estate agent's real estate agent. I like that.
And we realize that we're nothing without our clients. So
right.
always do the best job and give the best we can, and that's what we do.
I just think what you do, spending the money that you spend on the clients and your past clients is really something special.
It's just so much fun to see their faces and see them before the holidays, and it's just fun. And see their kids.
Yep.
And we get the invites to the weddings and the birthdays and the baby showers. And
that's why people want to work for Collette King team, because this is the kind of stuff that you do, and this is the kind of relationships that you make. And I'm glad you're able to share it now with the podcast. This is exciting.
I've got an excellent team, just excellent team. God has blessed me with some of the industry's finest. I will always say that.
Well, this is going to be great, getting to know you and getting to know the ins and outs of home buying, listing, all the nuances of real estate.
I can't wait to do more of these and introduce you to our team and introduce you to our agents and our staff that makes this go round.
Yeah, and absolutely. Don't hesitate to reach out to Collette. There'll be information on this podcast where you can reach out to her and talk to her, get her ideas on various things, and become a client just like that.
Oh, yeah. We love it. And first-time home buyers are the greatest. We love sharing our knowledge and giving them the power. So, because they go from renting or not knowing where to start to all of a sudden they are this powerful buyer and they're getting to choose what they want, and negotiations went their way, and it's just, they're just happy. And then we get invited to the birthday parties and the baby showers, and we watch their families grow.
Isn't that great?
Means
That's
so
awesome.
much to us. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's why I chose you years ago, and I got to know her. And one of the great things I love about Collette is she was very outspoken. She told me how it was, didn't mince words, but that's what's great about you. That's what's great about you.
I don't mince words.
And that's what's kept me coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, always glad to have you, Mark.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Some of the others is with the buyers and shopping for homes, they underestimate their own needs. So we've noticed working with first time home buyers that we try to get them to hone in on. So you tell me you homeschool. What room in this house would you homeschool in? We didn't think about that. She thought about the bedrooms. She thought about the kitchen. She thought about her master bedroom, but she didn't think about the homeschooling room. So we try to not have buyers underestimate their own needs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So we're, so going back to you need a realtor that listens to you, that knows your needs because you told them up front. I love to ask a buyer up front, tell me your wants, but tell me your needs, because your wants, I'll let you focus on that. But your needs, I'm focusing on your needs. We're going to try to eliminate them before I get you overwhelmed and we're looking at 20 properties in a day. Let's focus on those needs and knock it down.
And if you don't, it's going to result in a big headache down the road.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Yeah. Or disappointment. You fell in love with the home and you realize it just didn't have the room that you needed.
Yep.
But you fell in love. Of course, the neighborhood. I always say it's great to drive a neighborhood after 5:30 in the evening and on the weekends. See if there's kids outside playing.
Well, that's a good point.
Check out the pools. Make sure there is a pool. If you're buying a home without a pool and you use it, make sure if you used your apartment pool a lot, let's make sure there's a pool in the subdivision, unless you plan on putting one in. So, and that's the other thing. We've got pool builders that we can refer you to. We have a referral for everything you could possibly want. So when you're ready to pull the trigger on something, but you want that room addition, or you want that pool, or you want a remodeled bathroom, we have referrals for all of that.
Yeah, finding the right neighborhood is so important in the Houston area. So many of these subdivisions are growing. We showed one in Coles Crossing the other day, 175 acres of recreational area, which is great. And you've got Bridgeland, which is just out of this world with that type of stuff.
And so the two neighborhoods you just mentioned have this elementary schools within the community, which is wonderful.
Yep.
Bridgeland has all of them.
Town Lake has some as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that really keeps a community.
You're literally driving around the block the kids to go to school. Mm-hmm. And they used to ride bikes to school, which they still can. I know that was, back in the day we did it. Still alive.
Coles Crossing is big on that. Yeah, you'll see the little bike rack.
Also lived without airbags in our car. We properly went through the front windshield.
Yes. Then your parents picked you up, brushed you off, and threw you back in the car.
That's how we busted our face in the steering wheel.
That's right.
We did it happy. No big giant explosion of airbag. I'm just kidding. obviously.
Yes. We rode bikes without helmets. Yeah.
How did we ever do it?
Yeah. We didn't have bike locks. We just hoped our bike was still there when we came out. Yes.
That's right.
That's exactly
The times were changing.
The times are changing. So yeah, we go over the myths. We go over, from renting to, sometimes buyers will purchase a home that fits their needs for 2 or 3 years. And when they're ready to move, let's talk about holding on to that one. We can sometimes hold on to your first home as an investment.
That's a good point.
And then they move on and they've started their investment portfolio.
Another reason when buying that first home is being able to look forward, look ahead into this market. You've been in this market for 25 years. Someone moving in from Ohio hasn't been in this market.
No.
So, yeah, it's important to have that real estate agent like that.
26 years, but we're
26?
We're just going to stay at 25.
25 is a good number. Everything else is just...
It's my age. It's how many years I've been in real estate. So resale value. You had mentioned resale value. Resale value is huge. And we can trend that. So when a buyer is looking at a neighborhood, we can trend that value. We can, let's look at where this neighborhood has gone. Has it ever decreased? Has it ever taken a hit? So we can trend all of that for a buyer.
Yeah, flooding falls into that too, because we had a 200-year storm. Some people call it a 500-year storm.
During Harvey?
Yeah, it was a lot. And things that flooded may never flood again.
True. Tax day, we personally had a family member that flooded tax day that didn't flood Harvey. But she also flooded during Allison. So, it's, and she just won't move. And we do try to remind our clients that we make money when they move. So we like to keep that out there.
Right.
But flooding during Allison, flooding during tax day, and then not during Harvey. I mean, there was just no rhyme or reason.
That's right. Well, through the years, people will make adjustments. The city comes in, makes adjustments for that flood, but then they make somebody else flood over here.
Yeah.
Anytime you're moving all that stuff around, that whole Bear Creek area,
we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of that after Harvey, digging ditches, making them wider, improving drainage. We saw a lot of that, which was nice. That was, they kept saying tax dollars at work, and that was good to see. I enjoyed seeing all of the construction. I enjoyed the orange cones. If anyone can ever say that, I enjoyed seeing roads blocked off as they were doing the construction during.
And people that are not familiar with Houston itself, it has grown like you cannot believe. It's growing out. It's growing towards Galveston. It's growing out here to Katy, Cypress, up past Tomball, way out to Conroe.
Look at 99.
Now people are commuting in from Conroe like it's, Fairfield used to be called Farfield.
Yes,
now it's like right there in the middle of everything. Yes. Who would have ever thought that?
It's in 99. 99 has just made anyone that commutes and sells, 99 has been wonderful for us.
That's right. It's such a good area. I talk about Cypress and Katy and everywhere. I mean, from the churches to just great communities.
Restaurants.
Yes. Restaurants are getting everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day. They're selling their home. And they're moving closer to they're a little further out in the country for right now. We'll see how long that lasts.
It's coming.
Yes, and so she was talking about moving because she said during the summer they go from air conditioning to air conditioning, and so they'll go from their car to a restaurant to shopping, and that's their entertainment because it's air conditioned. So I said, that is what we do. So during the summer, when I say drive the neighborhoods. Maybe not on the summer because you won't see a whole lot of kids outside. But yeah, we're if you don't know Houston, we're hot, we're humid, but we're no state income. We have great housing. We're still wonderfully priced.
Yep.
We have some of the greatest builders, greatest communities, greatest schools.
Yep.
We're a good city.
We're discussing restaurants, and you cannot imagine the diversity from Houston. You're getting some of the best food in the country. I can't even begin to say it's special.
There is nothing that you want that we don't have. That's absolutely right.
That's it. So
back to buyers. After your contract's accepted, we go into inspections. We never, ever, ever encourage, ever expect a buyer to waive inspections. Inspections is your time to get to know the home. And it's so imperative to have inspections. And it's, just like finding a good realtor and a good lender, it's important to find a good
People
inspector.
glaze over it too. Well, the inspections are going, then we'll just get that done, then we'll move on. Then you get hit with a reality. It's filled with termites. You get hit with these things. It's very, very important.
Yeah. Termites. You either have them or you've had them, right?
Right.
But inspections are huge. Having done this for so many years, it's amazing to me that inspectors will try to get new business and they'll mention, well, you'll love our inspection reports. Yeah, I don't want to love I want to hate your inspection reports because you called so much, because that's where a buyer learns their home. And there's no surprises after they close. So bring me a 50-page inspection report. We will get through it.
Yep.
You did. Yes.
Probably the most important.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the inspectors can't see behind the walls, but they see a lot more than we do upon our first, second, or third viewing. And again, you want a realtor that has a good relationship with an inspector, or research it yourself. Research your inspectors, and a termite inspector, wood destroying insect inspector. And we have those too. We have carpenter bees, we have termites. Mm-hmm. When you get into new construction, you sometimes get rodent activity in the attic. It's just going to happen.
You got a nest of raccoons living behind that AC here. Well, just thought I'd let you in on that.
That's why the AC's not working. They've already chewed through it. No, I don't know that we've ever had that. But in new construction, you're gonna have a little bit of rodent activity.
Yeah, and we talked about that. You really do need a real estate agent with new construction. Yeah. That is one of the biggest things I see. Just that person working that new construction job, the lady in there, she's great. I'm sure you get along. And this is it's a new home, but you have to ask the right questions.
And they know their product. They are selling a product and they know it. So they are a great resource to have, but maybe not for your There's no one looking out for you. And that's look, we have our parties. We hold on to you as a client. If we did wrong by you, we would have no past clients that ever showed up to any of our events.
And I noticed one time I brought you into a new home buy. Colette's in there, and I'm asking a few questions, but then she's coming back with questions that the lady's saying, let me get back to you on that. Let me get back to you on them, because that's the one she didn't know. This is fun. She knew the glossy, fancy, shiny object ones, but the stuff behind the scenes that Collette was asking.
Let me call my manager. Yeah,
that's right. We had to wait for answers on those.
That's right.
That's a very good. Yeah, that's it.
We did. Yeah, those are interesting. They're fun. Buyers are just fun. Real estate can be fun. The hours and hours and hours of paperwork and negotiations, and that's just part of the job. But buyers and building those relationships are just they're just so important, and they mean a lot to us. They mean a lot to me and my team.
And that's great. Well, it shows. It shows.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're amazing outfit we got here.
We are proud of our relationships for sure. So some of the other staging, so you've got your inspection, once you get inspections negotiated, because the buyer does have the right to terminate if inspections come out less than savory, the buyer can terminate and walk away. But if they don't, and we get repairs negotiated.
Yeah, it's time to negotiate.
It's all about
It's a whole new AC unit.
Roof.
Look, you either want to put it in or you want us to put it in. We prefer to put ours in. Can you come down on the price a little bit? These are the areas where you can negotiate. And if your real estate agent is good, then that's what happens.
You'll get it done.
You'll get it done.
Then comes the appraisal. Appraisal is two things. You're going to get the value and you're going to get the actual square footage. So the square footage isn't always accurate on the MLS, usually pretty close, but not always number for number. But we've had appraisers that measure, and it may be 200, 300, 400 square feet, 5 or 500 plus. Or they converted a garage into a garage apartment that they didn't know they couldn't count the square foot on.
Correct.
So little surprises pop up like that, and we walk through it. We walk the buyer through it, and sometimes that comes back to a price negotiation. So if it's funny, if you don't meet value, you want to talk about it. But if you meet value or exceed value, right, the buyer's like, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone we have $30,000 in equity. So that's what we hope. As representing the buyers, we hope that that appraisal comes back with move-in equity, ready move-in equity for the buyer. So we hope that we've done our job so well that the buyer has immediate equity moving into their home.
Yeah, that's important. That's awesome.
We go from appraisal. If there's a survey needed, we jump into ordering a survey, making sure that if it was important to the buyer to put in a pool, we want to make sure that that survey allows for one, that we are not hitting any easements, nothing to prevent the buyer from in the future putting in a pool. And then we set ourselves up for closing. But after inspections is usually when the buyer starts working heavily with their lender.
Yep.
They start going through paperwork and paycheck stubs and all of that.
But something that you just said is very important. That easement in the backyard, because you may decide 3 years, 4 years from the time you're buying that home, even if it's a new home, I want to put a pool in. If you do not take into consideration that easement, you're going to be getting some bad news that you cannot build. Sometimes they're 8 feet, 10 feet off of the back line of the house. You need to know that buying up front, that you're not going to be able to put a pool in there. If it is, it's going to be a very small one.
And that goes back to the wants and needs. Yep. That goes back to that original list. How important is that pool to you?
That's right.
Are you willing to live without it? So let's check out the subdivision pool. But if let's see how important that is to you.
I'm going to tell people, don't settle. All the time, if you settle, you're going to regret it later. Get what you're looking for, get what you want, because that's going to make you happy in the end when you go to do the things you want to do. But if you settle, it's going to come back and haunt you.
And in a city the size of Houston, you don't have to settle.
That's right.
Your home is probably on the market somewhere waiting for you.
That's right.
So you do not have to settle.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the way you said.
So survey, yeah. So the survey, we talk about the survey, we talk about the easements, we talk about what you can and can't do, and then you're pretty poised for closing.
Yeah.
And so once the survey's done, you're in the home stretch typically.
Yep.
And with a good lender, you already know this. There are no surprises. That's right. That's one of a buyer's biggest beefs is they never saw it coming with their lender. Never saw it coming. If they don't have a successful closing. So we just, with our group of lenders, we don't have that issue. So if they're told up front, chances are they're going to closing.
Yep.
So things happen. Sometimes buyers go out and finance a car while they're under contract.
Right.
Or they co-sign for someone else's home because they found out they had great credit.
That's right.
No boundaries.
That's when you got to navigate. Sometimes you got to pivot.
Yeah. Pivot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got to.
That's our big word, right?
That's right.
Pandemic.
Being able to pivot on the move.
New normal, pivot.
That's right.
So yeah, that's where we are. We think we provide great service. We love our people. We love what we do, but we realize we can only do it because of our past clients, because of you, because of our past clients and new clients. Hopefully with our new party and open it up to the general public, hopefully we'll walk away with new friends.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea. Super looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be
exciting
awesome
stuff happening at Collette King Team. I dig it.
Yes. Yeah, we're excited. We're elevating to new horizons.